Hello everyone, this is Wicked West Books. I am Meg West, and today I am doing my wrap-up video for April of 2015. So I did not get as much read this month as I did last month, not nearly comparable. I did manage to read 11 books last month, but I only finished 4 this month. I'm still not at all ashamed of what I got read this month. If you watched my wrap-up video for the month, you know that I bought a ton of books, 14 actually, I counted, during the month of April, and I decided that I was going to jump right into those because I did buy some of them at the very beginning of the month. So the first book I read for the month of April was The Warrior Heir by Cinda Williams-Chima. I had a lot of issues with this book and I was very let down with it. I ended up giving it a 3.5 stars out of 5 because it was so disappointing. One of the big issues that I had was that it didn't even live up to the blurb on the back. If you read on the back, it says that he loses control of his own strength and nearly kills another player during the soccer team tryouts. Nothing nearly that dramatic happened. Yes, he lost control. Yes, he did up injuring another player on the team, but he essentially just pushed him into the goalpost, splitting his lip. It healed a week later, and he was perfectly fine. I don't even think he ever went to the doctor for it. Not nearly as dramatic as the blurb on the back makes it sound. Another issue that I was having was kind of that the characters seemed inconsistent to me. They switched from one extreme to the other, and when you read the prologue, the very beginning of this book, the aunt knows what's going to happen. She goes into the situation knowing that eventually something is going to happen, and she doesn't put any plans in place in order to stop it in the future. No plans are made to save her nephew until it's time for that danger to be there. And it just kind of irritated me, and the other thing that irritated me is that the main character just didn't get that he was kind of going towards something that was going to happen whether he wanted it to or not, and he didn't want any information that could have helped him, and the aunt didn't want to give him any information that would have helped him in the long run, and he could have fared so much better if he had had that information a lot earlier on. It took about half of the book to get the information that it gives you on the back, and that was just really long to me. So all in all, I was fairly disappointed with this book. I did enjoy it enough to continue reading the trilogy. I'm just not in too much of a hurry to get to that. Okay, so the next book that I picked up is another one of the brand new ones that I just bought this month. That book is Assassin's Creed Renaissance by Oliver Bowden. I picked this up because I'm not the best at playing video games. I will attempt them sometimes, and I don't particularly want to practice it. I know that a lot of video games have a series that is based off of them. They can just give you background information, or like these, they can follow the story of the main character in the series. So I picked this one up with high hopes, mostly because of the assassins. I love assassins. You give me a book with an assassin in it, the chances are very, very high that I'm going to read it. I had some issues with this book as well. My reading month just did not start out very well. I ended up giving this one a 3 out of 5 stars because I did like it less than The Warrior Heir. The problems I had with this one mostly was that it was written with the video game logic. He doesn't make a lot of decisions for himself. Someone says, someone's captured and we get him back, we can save the people, and it gets you closer to who you want to kill. And he says, okay, I'll go do it. And he doesn't have enough of a personality to really fill him out. Also, he was fairly inconsistent. At the beginning of the book, he's absolutely in love with this girl that he is intended to marry. She says she'll wait for him, and then 2 years later, he's been gone. He hasn't sent any kind of letter to say, hey, I'm still alive, I still love you, I still want to marry you. Nothing. He just shows up out of the blue, and surprise, surprise, she's engaged to someone else. And at first he's extremely upset about it, and then 5 minutes later he sends her fiance back from the debtors so that they can get married, and he just goes off on his life. not thinking about her until someone says, hey, you're in the same town she is right now. And he's like, oh, I must look her up. It was just very inconsistent and not really believable. It was just kind of all over the place. And then it happened twice in the book. The phrasing was that the soldiers were running hither and yon. Phraseology is very, very current, and every once in a while he would throw in the old-time phrasing, and it just stuck out as kind of bad writing style in my opinion. Again, I didn't hate it. I will continue to read it, but I'm not in love with it so far. Hopefully it gets better. After having kind of disappointing starts to my month with new books that I had gotten, I decided to read a book that I had picked up a while ago and just hadn't quite gotten around to reading. That book was the Bane Chronicles by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Reese Brennan, and Maureen Johnson. I love Magnus Bane. Magnus Bane is one of my most favorite characters of all time. That being said, it was still a little bit hard for me to get into this book, which I don't think was an issue with this book by itself. It was just me being reluctant to start something I hadn't read before because of bad experiences on the last two books. Because once I got into it, past the first 5 pages or so, I fell in love with Magnus all over again. Magnus Bane is my favorite character in the Mortal Instruments and Infernal Devices series. This book really made up the bad reading start that I had for April, and I wanted to stay in this world. After all, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I decided I was going to start my reread of the Mortal Instruments series. I have read everything but the final book. So after I finished the Bane Chronicles, I picked up City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I had read this book before, but it has been forever since I have read it. Years. It's been years. I opened it and the pages are actually kind of starting to yellow from it, and I'd put it down on the shelf for long enough not to realize that the bookmark I had been using before was money. I was using a $2 bill as my bookmark for this book, and I didn't know the money was in here. But that's how long it's been since I picked up this book that I forgot I had money in it. Now it was a reread, so I did get a slightly different perspective than when I read it the first time. I had a fair idea of where it was going to go, and I knew where all of the twists and turns were. It had been forever since I'd read it, so some of the things that happened I'd completely forgotten about. I have seen the movie, and for the first half, the movie follows the book fairly well, but for the last half, it's completely different. The main events happen, they find out that they are brother and sister, that Valentine is their father, that they have that whole battle where he gets the cup, but exactly where those events happen and the exact timeline of events is just completely different in the last part of this book. The book is much better, of course, and there is going to be a Shadowhunter series on, I believe it's ABC. I am looking forward to seeing that because hopefully it follows the book better than the movie did. That was all that I read for the month of April. It wasn't my best, but it also wasn't my worst. That's all I really have for you guys today. If you have read or if you want to know anything else about the books that I read during this month, please comment below. I love to talk to people who comment on my videos. Yep, so that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!